Well, we will get started and I'll continue to let folks in, but I want to, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Hudson, the membership meeting for the Hudson Chamber. My name is Mary Claire Olson-Potter. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to this great conversation. Today is the actual International Women's Day, and we are excited to be celebrating this with all of you. Some of you may know that this event is celebrated annually on March 8th and has been observed since the early 1900s. A time of great expansion and turbulence in the industrial world saw just a booming population growth. The first International Women's Day event was held in 1911. And the theme for this year for the 2021 campaign is hashtag choose to challenge. A challenged world is an alert world. Collectively, we can all help create an inclusive world. From challenge comes change, so let us choose to challenge. Today, we will hear from some of our local leaders and their amazing stories right here in Western Wisconsin. At this time, I'd like to recognize today's sponsor, Seek Careers Staffing. Seek is celebrating 50 years in business this year, and since starting the company in 1971 out of her home, the company has grown to 21 branches in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So please join me in welcoming CEO Carol Ann Schneider. This is where we clap. So we have a participatory meeting. Very good. There you go. All right. Good morning, Carol.
Thanks, Mary Claire. I'm pretty excited to be involved in this group this morning because I've never participated in an International Women's Day celebration before. So yay, women. 50 years ago when we started Seek, the world was a very different place. It was an era of pre-feminism and women were not looked upon as credible in the business world. Bankers refused to give us a credit line for 21 years, actually. And the local businessmen would pat me on the head and say, "Isn't she cute? She's got that cute little business." And then I attacked the florist one day because he had a cute little business too. But anyway, so thankfully much has changed and we're delighted to watch as other talented women take their places in the world. What happened to my picture? There it is. Okay. Needless to say, we persevered. And as Mary Claire said, we have actually 20 branch offices in Wisconsin and Minnesota. We're a commercial staffing service providing skilled and unskilled labor, as well as corporate support candidates on a direct hire, temp to hire, and temporary basis. We have a sister company, Seek Professionals, which provides engineers, other manufacturing professionals, and business development, direct hire, and contract candidates from 3 branches in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So thank you for providing this forum today and for inviting me. Have a fun time.
Well, thank you so much for sponsoring today's event. And again, congratulations, 50 years.
That's awesome.
You too could be a sponsor of an upcoming Good Morning Hudson program. So if you are interested, please see me. I know I'm so used to saying see me, call me, email me. We'll get you set up for that. And today we are excited that we're going to donate a portion of the attendee proceeds to Turning Point for victims of domestic and sexual violence. And I want to invite Alina Taylor to talk to us a little bit about Turning Point. Alina?
Good morning, everybody, and thanks again for choosing Turning Point as the recipient for today's funds. Just a reminder about what we do. Our mission is to provide support and resources to achieve freedom from domestic and sexual violence, and we serve Pierce and St. Croix County and have been doing so since 1979. We've always been incredibly grateful of Hudson's support, both the community at large and its individual members for our work. And we hope to be able to continue to do it for quite some time. A lot of us know us as a shelter building, but we also have a lot of other community-based services. A lot of folks never stay in our shelter, but still utilize emotional support, support group options, legal assistance, and also help meeting their basic needs. We do a wide variety of things. I encourage you all to check out our website if you're wondering more details about our work and how we go about that. And if any of you would like me to come back and speak to either any of your groups as well, I'm more than available to do that. I just want to say thanks again for having me here and inviting me to your event, and I look forward to hearing today's content.
Thank you so much, Alina. Really appreciate your all the great work you and your organization do in this community. Thank you for your leadership. All right. Also, during Good Morning Hudson, we provide an opportunity for new members to introduce themselves, and I was so excited that we were going to have Diana from 517 on Main, which is a new supper club that recently opened here in Hudson, women-owned business, opened during a pandemic, just to talk a little bit about that. But I think April or Maddie, if one of you could send her the link, that would be great. So I'm going to go back to that in a minute. So just a couple announcements. We are doing our Welcome to the Hudson Chamber on March 10th. It's a great opportunity to meet other chamber members and also learn through the Chamber 101 program that Maddie puts on, just talking about how best to update your directory listing on the website. So I invite you to join us at noon on March 10th. And then we are also working on getting the annual golf outing set up. So today's a great day when it's 60 degrees to think about golf. So that event will be held in June. So more to follow on that. I just want to see if Diana did join. I just see.
Diana's here.
Diana, okay, we want to welcome you as a new member. And before I introduce our panelists, just talk a little bit about 517 on Main, and you opened a restaurant during a pandemic.
Well, who was stupid to do that? Oh my God. Oh, yes. No, I did. I thought, what the heck? It was a great business deal. Also, it's a lovely building. So, yeah, we started January 14th officially, and it's going really good. I mean, everybody's happy, got employees. We're all COVID free. Thank goodness. So no, it's very good. It's going well. So.
And you just started offering brunch this past weekend.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we're still, not up to the speed we want people to come in, but you know what? It was a great, I mean, you should see the menu, check online. Oh my God. The food, I could have eaten one of each, but my stomach probably couldn't handle it. So no, it's going good. Really good. People come on in. You'll enjoy the food.
Your lobster bisque is to die for. I will tell you that I'm a huge fan of your lobster bisque. I will.
Oh, yes. No, we get raves. People come in just for that. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the fillets and the steak and the pastas. And no one goes home hungry. Usually you take the to-go boxes home too. So it's going well.
And we're excited about that popover oven.
We're still working on it. Yes. We may have to extend the kitchen a little bit to get that in. So
okay. Well, congratulations and welcome. We're so thrilled to have you as a member of the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that is our announcements. I'm excited to move forward with introducing our panel for today. It's my pleasure to introduce Ann Finch. She is president and CEO of Optum Serve Health Services. And Optum Health Services, a United Health Group company responsible for providing health services and proven expertise to help federal agencies tackle some of the biggest challenges in healthcare. And I think you saw a few of those this past year, Ann. Before becoming CEO at Logistics Health, she was CIO for 4 years. And while at United Health Group, Ann has also been vice president of United Health Group Solution Support Services, where she oversaw a team of 1,500 IT professionals who took care of systems 24/7, 365 days a year. Ann has a doctorate in organization development, a master's in software engineering from St. Thomas University, and a bachelor's in business science from the University of Minnesota, with also degrees in computer operations, computer programming from Century College. Ann serves on several boards and currently is on the executive committee for the La Crosse Chamber of Commerce. So please join me in welcoming Ann Finch. Ann, do you want to unmute?
Yes, there. I'm unmuted. So Mary Claire, do you want me just to jump in and
jump in a little bit, and then I'll introduce the other panelists.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. Super glad to be here again. And I always look at these opportunities as an opportunity to give back, because I've learned from so many other businesswomen over the years, been inspired by, people that have paved the way before, Ruth, Carol, yourselves. I know that our successes as women are on the backs of others that were courageous enough to pave that path for us. So I'm super glad to be here and look forward to sharing some of the highs and lows of the last year with you all, because I know you've gone through a lot of the same things I have too. So super glad to be here.
All right, thanks, Ann. Also joining us today is Sarah Bruch. She's the co-owner of the Purple Tree, and located in historic downtown Hudson. And she's been a resident of Hudson for over 26 years. Her entrepreneurial perspective was enhanced by a business background in corporate banking, retail, and human resource management. The Purple Tree, under Sarah's leadership, became one of Wisconsin's first public benefit corporations. Benefit corporations, unlike other corporate alternatives, adhere to a triple bottom line business practice: the commitment that the planet and people are just as important as the profit. The Purple Tree features products that are good for our planet and good for people. And last year, Sarah received her Master of Science degree in Sustainable Business Management. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And Carol, I loved your story. I wish I had known you sooner. And I agree with Ann, echoing, thank you for paving the way. And now we'll all work together to continue to do that for future generations.
That's great, thank you. And next we have Ruth Johnston. She's president and CEO of Croix Gear and Machining. She's served as president for 10 years since the passing of her husband, Mark. Ruthie has a real passion for continuous learning to bring her best to work, family, and community involvement. As a result of the past 10 years, Ruthie has learned and continues to hone her skills in leadership, business management, finance, operations management, company culture, innovation, and strategic planning. In her current position, Ruthie has found love of manufacturing. She is currently working in the local community to open doors and remove the industrial camouflage to show people at all levels what is available in a trade-related career, especially in manufacturing for both men and women. Please join me in welcoming Ruthie. All right, okay. And today, finally, we have Marie Schmidt. She's the owner of the Winzer Stube German restaurant. Marie moved to the United States in January 1982 after they left the United States Army from Germany. Her first job here was Dayton's department store in St. Paul in the food division. And who doesn't miss Dayton's, right?
I know.
Marie worked her way up to department manager and later to regional manager with 9 restaurants and marketplaces. It was her favorite job, also her only one. Marie opened Marie's Bistro Deli in Butler Square, Minneapolis in 1997, and the Winzer Stube restaurant here in 1999. And if she wasn't busy enough, she opened the, I never say it right,
Midi.
Thank you, Midi, in Duluth Complex, a Mediterranean restaurant. And then she managed there a theater, 4 banquet rooms, hotel breakfast, and restaurants, all very successful businesses. Her background is in hotel restaurant management after an apprenticeship in Germany, Switzerland, and Great Britain. Her family owned a bed and breakfast and carpentry business. Marie states, I enjoy what I do every day and look forward to going to work. Welcome to Marie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I still feel the same way every day going to work. It's always an adventure, and this year anyway, or last year. And I'm so glad we're coming out of it and things hopefully will get better. I do enjoy Hudson and the people in Hudson. Everybody has been so kind and nice and supporting us and supporting other businesses too in town. So it's been a great journey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Marie. So I have a couple questions that I talked to the panelists about that we're going to start. But like I said, if you have questions, we certainly want to have this to be a conversation today too. So I'm going to start with Ann and just talk about, what were the 2, I know it's going to be hard to limit it to 2 challenges for your role in 2020.
Well, so, like many of you, probably the biggest challenge was honestly doing the impossible without knowing a path. There weren't paths for us to follow. There wasn't, oh, here's the recipe you pull out when there's a pandemic. So, I think first was, how do you do things that before you had told others were impossible? I can't tell you how many people said, hey, can I work at home in this job? Well, no, that job can't be done at home. Hey, can I work while my kids are at home? No, that's impossible. That can't be done. Can we provide health services to people if they don't come into the clinics? Oh, no, for these kind of appointments, you have to be in a clinic. So that was, I think, quite amazing to think of all the different things that were impossible we had to figure out how to do this year. And now they're almost every day and we take them for granted. And I'd say the other one for me, which was amazing, and we can talk about how, was I had to scale my business. And I always feel kind of guilty about even saying that because I know a lot of other businesses suffered, but I had to scale my business astronomically over where maybe I trained 1,000 people in a whole year. I had to train over 5,700 people to do the work that didn't even exist when I talked to you guys last year at this time. Wow. So finding them, hiring them, using them, and continuing to retrain them as things evolved with the whole pandemic have been really my two biggest challenges.
All right, thank you. Ruthie, your two top challenges this past year.
First of all, we were named as essential. And so we had to stay open to supply. By many of our customers, we were named as essential. So we had to stay open in order to supply our customers. With that in mind was, very difficult to say, how do we do that? Make sure that everybody was safe. Because at the beginning, nobody knew what COVID would do. And it was many days here going like, what happens if we make the wrong decision? Enough to say that, to the point that what happens if we make a decision that kills somebody or somebody in their family? And then we were riding pretty high to begin with, and all of a sudden the bottom fell out. How do we keep everybody employed? How do we keep the supply moving for the people we needed to? How do we not put ourselves out of business and come out on the other side without having any clue what this looked like for the future?
That's a lot.
Yeah. With 70 employees and their families depending on you, it was pretty hard to do that, but we figured a way.
Were you making gears for one of your customers that was making toilet paper?
Yes.
Very essential. Very essential. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, actually, we were making products that went into healthcare. We're diverse enough that it went into all kinds of products that were essential, food, all kinds of essential places. So yes, we needed to do that. But employees were afraid.
Yeah.
Seriously, they were afraid and didn't know if they should be here or not. It was hard to answer all those questions because they had family members that were laid off.
Yeah.
So they were trying to figure out how are they going to take care of their families, and we tried to make sure that they could take care of their families. We juggled a lot of things to make sure that happened.
Right.
And our we dropped at one point. We were down, close to 35%.
Yeah.
So dealing with that kind of stuff, and how do we make sure that everybody's still taken care of?
Right.
Plus safe.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to Sarah and Marie. Retail and restaurants totally shut down for a period of time and had to totally pivot how they did. So Sarah, talk to us about a couple of your top challenges from the retail side.
You bet. And we're a smidge unique as a public benefit corporation because one of our first questions is always, how are the people? How are we treating people? So we closed down before the mandate came into place because keeping people safe was far more important than our profit. And while that was a wonderful thing to have that guiding post, at times it was always like, ooh, okay, we can do this. So we had to focus a lot on adaptability. How can we do this? How can we keep people safe? How can we keep our customers safe? How can we hone our skills? How can we upgrade our website? So we were an early adapter to Zoom, and thank goodness for Zoom. Had a lot of staff meetings, planning that way. Reached out to some of our local partners and local organizations that we do a lot of work with. Christensen Creative helps us a lot with our marketing strategies. So they gave us training on how to upgrade our website so we could add products to it so customers could shop that way. We figured out how to do virtual shopping and really became personal shoppers, working on themes, just trying everything we could do to keep our customers safe, keep our employees safe, and make sure that we were moving forward as a business. So that was a great challenge. And actually, at the time, it didn't feel like fun. But as I look back, we really became more of a yes organization. So when employees came forward with ideas, where maybe we'd be like Ann was saying, oh, that's a great idea. Now it was like, great idea, let's run with it. How can we make that happen? So we found ourselves really empowering our team, and man, did they rise to the occasion. And I have knocked my head on the wall many of times, like, why didn't we do that before? So there was some really powerful learning that we had. And like Marie said, holy cow, this community responded and really got out and kept our businesses going and open. Marie's my neighbor. I love her to pieces.
Yeah.
So Marie and I would be standing in the hallways storming together. So it really has been a blessing in disguise. Don't get me wrong. I am grateful for the day when life is even closer to normal, but it really has given us a chance to spread our wings and try new things.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Marie, restaurants were closed for a while.
Yes. Strange year. This has been a year like no other. I went into survival mode. And like Sarah said, we closed March 19th until mid-May, which is a long time. And the bills don't stop coming. So you still have to pay. You still have to pay your lease. You have to pay everything that you had before, except the payroll, which is nice, But I drove down every day, even that we were closed and supposed to stay in the house. I went online and tried to sell gift certificates. I put it on the phone. I put it on the website, anywhere I could. And people responded. They just emailed me, I want to buy one, Marie. And I go back down the next day, fill them out, send them in the mail to make some cash. And it just, once we opened mid-May with curbside and to go, which I thought was hard for a German place. I mean, not everybody thinks, a burger is always great to get, but it was amazing. And it was all local people and even Minnesota people came for curbside and to go. And then we set up a patio on the street corner there, right on the sidewalk, and people loved that. So it helped us, and it was really hard, needless to say, to come out of this. And it's amazing we did it. And I don't know, I wouldn't want to do it again, obviously, like that. I don't want to be at home for a month and a half. That was awful. Not awful, but it just wasn't fun. I would have rather been in the restaurant.
Right.
And my people too, they would have rather worked than be at home, you know. So, but we all stuck together and we got back together and worked and opened up, made huge changes and learned a lot, how we can survive and how we can go forward with those changes. I mean, everyone, and like Sarah said, our staff too, why don't we do this? I'm like, okay, let's do it. Anything, we can try it, you know. So I wonder if I can read this one phrase from Barbara Corcoran. It was so good, I just found it. Whenever there's change, there's opportunity. The businesses that are doing the best during this crisis are run by leaders who welcome change. And, you know, over 110,000 food and drinking establishments have closed. And it's still continuing to go on because they can't come out of it.
Right.
A lot of people. So, but anyway, that's it.
Are you doing your tables on the sidewalk again this summer?
Well, this time I have to buy the furniture. I rented it from a catering company that couldn't work because they had no business.
Yes, yeah.
So I said, would you rent me 5 tables and 30 chairs? And we came up with a price, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
But now I would buy it. I don't know if the city lets me because it's not my land. You know, it's city. It's the sidewalk. But I thought it was cute. It needs some umbrellas and like a wall, you know, a flower wall, like in New York. They do it all over.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
you, Marie. And as you think about it, what is it that you learned in 2020 that you're carrying forward with you in 2021?
Probably my biggest one is I probably tended to be a little bit more like, if I have a problem, I'm going to solve it myself. If I'm going to have a challenge, I'm going to take care of it. And what I really had to do in this pandemic is, and I don't know if this is just a great visual for me. Have you guys ever been dozing off and you start falling asleep and you do this where you kind of reach out? I found that that's that's left over from our very old ancestors, that if they slept in trees, their arms went out to grab something to survive. And I think this year I did way more of this. I watched what other people were doing. I talked to other people. And instead of trying to solve it all myself, I reached out to staffing vendors. I reached out to bus companies. I reached out to labs, groups that I never would have reached out for help, but I couldn't wait for myself to figure it out. I couldn't figure out the recipe myself. And I had so much more success by reaching out to other vendors and leveraging them, that I'm going to do that first so much more. I mean, even your example, Marie, like I would always been like, okay, I got to go buy this myself versus going, who might have it that I can borrow? Because who knows how long this is going to last? Who has talent that's not working? Bus companies, I got a whole bunch of talent from because the whole bus industry shut down. And I would have never thought about that had one of them not reached out to me. And I think in a different year, I would have went, why would I look to a bus company for medical staff? But I was desperate for help anywhere. And they kind of laid it out and said, hey, my group are willing to go anywhere at any time at a moment's notice. That's what bus companies do. We're ready to help you. So I think that's the big one, is when in times of crisis, reach out and use other people's expertise and help and listen. Don't try to solve everything yourself. That's my big aha.
Ruthie, same question. What did you learn in 2020 that you're carrying with you in 21?
Well, I found out you don't step back, step into it, go after it, start asking more questions, and then ask more questions. What we did is we ended up rebranding, created a sales team, created going into connecting, started connecting with some of the companies every 2 weeks to find out where they were, so we knew how to manufacture. We knew when they were up, when they were down. We knew if their employees were working 4 days a week or 3 days a week. We knew what their inventory was. We knew exactly how to produce inside here. We started, we didn't have to lay anybody off. We started working the system with unemployment, understanding how all the systems worked. We created, if you look, new websites, went out and introduced ourselves as different. We have been in conversations with all customers. We created a quarterly business reviews. We started showing them how we were going to show up differently. And all it's done is bring us more work. Every time we schedule one, they've got more RFQs and more work for us to do. Instead of creating inventory, we started teaching our employees new things, new skills. We raised the bar inside of our company. So we started teaching them lean, and we started teaching them about finance. We started teaching them, so because we have highly skilled employees, we did not want to lose them. So we just started communicating differently with our customers. Some of them every week, some of them every other week. So we knew exactly what was going on inside them, so we could control what was going on inside here, so we could start controlling our destiny and controlling spend, controlling everything. We ended up being 35% down at one time. We ended up the last of the year being down 3%.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so by being in conversation and learning to ask good questions, learning to have that kind of stuff, we got to be able to understand. And Zoom became our friend too, Sarah. It's learned how to be technically in those conversations was a big thing. And people wanted to talk because they were tired of being home.
Yeah.
So, but being able to go in and ask questions and figure out how we could serve other people really served us.
Very good. Thank you, Ruthie. Thank you. And Sarah, what did you learn this past year that you're continuing to move forward in 21?
Well, I learned the value in stepping back and making sure that I was enjoying the great outdoors, right? Really grounding, connecting with nature. I've always been a walker. Many of you maybe know my mom, and she's this cute grandma with this white hair. She walks all over town. She's adorable. She's got a backbone of steel. I'm like, if this has worked for my mom, I'm going to try this. So I have been a very committed walker, and just find that it gives me a chance to clear my brain, that it just makes me feel alive. And it's actually given me time for a lot of creative thinking, and it's probably made me more productive. And so I certainly encourage folks that are in a brain fog to think about that, because nature is definitely super healing and good for both mental health and physical health. I think the other thing is a reminder to tell people that I care about and that I work with how important they are, what a difference they make. We're in this together, that message of making sure people know how important they are to you and how valued they are. And I decided that, the older I get, the less I realize I know. And the value in doing research, looking and seeing what other people are doing, what's working for them, how can we adapt that? And just being mindful that, heck, I don't have nearly even a quarter of the answers, maybe even less than that, probably. But there's others out there who do, and to be open to suggestions and their input.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Marie, what are you taking with you that you learned this past year into 21?
Well, there's a lot. Like Sarah said, I read a lot more, and I walk and clean my brain because it's always on overdrive, and I need to settle down a little more. Maybe not be at work every single day at 7 and go home at 10, So I have learned that. And it helps, trusting others. And they do a great job without me, I noticed. And, I think, wow, they are good, so I don't have to be there. And I will use that too. But we are still in the stages of growing now back to where we were before. So it does take a little more work. And And I think our people are our best resource, and the customers. I mean, when they say something and I think, wow, I should have done that a long time ago, or when the staff, and I still have my full staff, a couple of people retired, but everybody's still there. So, and we were part-time before, but now we are going back to full-time. And they appreciate that too, because they need to make a living too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. And I don't think we can afford any more unemployment in this country, and people need jobs. They need to support their families.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm taking away.
Right.
Keeping everybody that has been there from day one with me. A lot of them have.
That's
I
great.
have a very loyal team.
That's very good. So I have a couple other questions, but before I want to open that up to see if Carol has any additional thoughts or reactions from what you've heard from the panelists today. Carol, if you want to just unmute.
Yes. All of your ideas are absolutely marvelous, and you're all correct. It's kind of amazing what you can find out. I think Marie said it, that, I always thought I was the smartest person in the room, but then I found out that other people have some really good ideas too. So I concur with Marie and Anne, who laid out all sorts of other options and got creative about where she was finding people, and Ruth to totally change the way you approach the business. I mean, that was amazing. And Sarah, I don't know if I'll ever be a walker.
That's okay. It doesn't work for everyone. I'm sure
Oh,
there's
that's funny.
Yes. So I want to open it up to others. If you have any questions for our panelists, we are thrilled to have Sean and Brian celebrating International Women's Day with us. I'm not going to call out the two of you that are on this call, but I just did. So thrilled that you are on with us today, but any thoughts or reactions or questions from either one of you?
Well, I think all the panelists are absolutely tremendous leaders of the community. And when I saw Sarah and Ruth, who I know through Rotary on the lineup, I was excited to join and support my friends and the broader friends of the community. Excellent job, ladies. It was a pleasure listening to your stories, and I think a lot of people will benefit from your message.
Great. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add or question?
Yeah, I was thinking this morning that COVID-19 has obviously had a huge impact on our economy and our workplace, unemployment. And in particular, I'm wondering how some of the panel or anyone else on the call thinks about its effect that it's had on women, specifically in the workplace. Because very often they're the primary caregivers in our homes. And they've been balancing that with a career, and then we all stay home. And has that changed, the workplace for some of you as you start to come back to the office?
It's not easy.
Go ahead, Carol.
It's not easy trying to take care of your kids, and especially if they're not in school, and trying to maintain your job at the same time. Who was talking about a new puppy? I mean, goodness sake, if you have children, that's 10 times more complicated. But, amazingly, we have women with children who still maintain their jobs, even if they had to work from home, and, figured out a way. They were creative.
From all the statistics, Brian, if you want to know the truth, the women have been impacted the worst
I think so too, Ruth.
on COVID.
Yeah.
The women have had, the statistics bear that out. More of them have lost jobs. More of them are having more difficulty all across the board.
Anne, any thoughts or reactions to that?
Yeah, I was going to just say, given we're in healthcare, it's just very normal that a lot of our workforce, especially the ones, out in the field, are women. And so that's certainly been part of our challenges. One, how do you get people that are willing to step forward into dangerous situations? COVID testing centers, you're willingly walking into a place where people are coming to you that know they have COVID. And so that was one, a challenge. And, 80% of our workers out in the field are women. So that was the challenge of that, along with each one of them usually had either they were taking care of their elderly parents and they really had to weigh that. And then if they didn't, they had kids and they had to figure out who can I leave my kids with while I'm gone on 9 to 12 hour work days, just because. So it was I think a pretty daunting challenge for them because oftentimes they were the primary caregiver. But I will say a lot more husbands had to step up because of it. And I say had because, the default was, of course, my wife is going to help with the kids. And then they realized, my job maybe went away as a guy, and this is the way my family's going to get fed. So I have to support it. So they were adaptive. And I just think it has, fallen pretty hard on them. But I have to say, so courageous, so brave. And, Sarah, just like you, we had to arm our workers with the safest way to do that work and not bring it home to their families, the safest way to do those works and not bring it home to their kids. And so education was really, really important. And I am proud to say of the 5,700 field workers we've had, only 10 got infected in the workplace. So it does give me courage to all of you who have put in safe practices to say it can work and it can, take care of your employees too. But yeah, I think it's been a really rough year for women that have had to balance all that caretaking and the workplace. So thanks, Brian, for recognizing that.
Yeah.
Unlike you, Anne, we have a constant barrage of people coming to work sick because they are used to doing that. They're committed. I don't know how many times I've said, if you even have the sniffles, stay home because we don't want to infect the entire branch. Yet I have people coming to work and I've had to shut down branches. Fortunately that we have Zoom and the ability to transfer calls and we maintain our business, but it's been challenging to say the least.
Anyone else have a comment or thought or reaction to that? Susie, you have 150 people on your team. Judy, I'll come to you. Susie, you have 150 people on your team. What have you learned this past year and what are you doing differently now, would you say?
You have to ask when I have my mouth full.
Sorry, I'll go to Judy Freund. Okay, well, do you want me to
come back to me?
Okay. Judy,
Go ahead. Who would you like, Mary Claire?
I'm sorry, I thought it was Judy next. Judy Freund.
Yep. I am really interested in this conversation. And Brian, that was a great question. I'm wondering, because it is International Women's Day, in fact, can you identify skills and dispositions that women have held that allowed them to move through the difficult time of the pandemic, as all of you just articulated, but skills that have probably been undervalued, but are going to serve women well in the 21st century? Because things, I'm assuming, are going to change. So can you identify sort of specific dispositions or attitudes that women may hold that are actually positioning them to be in positions of leadership to a larger extent than they've been in the past? And any one of the panel members can grab that.
Yes, who wants to take that one first?
Well, I think that in what I've been reading is there's still some difficulty with recognizing women in CEO or executive positions. They still have a great deal of difficulty putting women in those positions, even though, okay, so here's a simple belief that if you're in a meeting with women, and you can probably talk about this from an executive point, that the meeting's going to go longer automatically because a woman's in that meeting, okay? Which is absolute bunk, because women typically get to the point, get the meeting done and get out. It's men typically they found that run meetings longer. So, and in my experience, even in my small company, I get to action much faster and get to that point much faster than men do in my company. So there are so many myths that are still floating out there about women in executive positions or in positions of leadership. They are not offered as often. Or as a woman, so this is also what I see often is, and this was just brought up to me recently. So words that women use can be spoken about as fluffy or squishy. So I was in a conversation recently about the word trust. So using that word in a conversation with a man would be possibly perceived from me as being squishy. Oh, she's going to that feeling stage, that kind of thing, rather than using the word confidence. Okay, so how the perceptions of women, or if a man used that word, would be a different stage. So there's lots of norms yet that women have to go through in order to be recognized in those positions yet. And if a woman is assertive or to the point, they're considered that wonderful B word that's out there. And there's days you just have to wear that crown. But if a man would be there, they consider him assertive and powerful and strong and going there. Yet if you are, there's days you just have to wear that crown, but you are going to be considered the bitch. So there are these norms still for women that are really that are still, as far as going to those top level jobs, are very difficult. And like Carol said earlier, they're not, I don't think they're as difficult, but for women, startup money wise, those are still very difficult places for women to get financing or anything. A lot of times they still have to go to private to get money, or find a relative or something that'll be able to give them money. Lot of stuff there yet.
And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe I'm going to sew together Judy's and Ruth's comments, because Judy, you asked what are some of the strengths that we can really leverage going forward, and bouncing off Ruth. I think, and you even heard it the way Marie talked and Sarah talked about some of their business decisions this last year, and Ruth, is women are more naturally able to look at multiple dimensions of making a decision at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to benefit men too, because where it's historically, you only look at the finances and you only look at the business, and it's not as natural to think about the people, the impact on the people, the impact on the emotions. I think women are just a little bit more wired to do that. And I think if we use that strength more often, it would give men permission to introduce some of those things into the conversation too. So think how naturally, Sarah, you talked about, when can I go back to business? When it's safe for my people, when it's safe for my company, how do I take care of my employees while keeping their families safe, while keeping their relatives safe? How can I keep people making money while keeping them employed, while keeping them safe? I think that's just something that's naturally easier for women to do. And if we did it more often in meetings and kind of showed our work, and sadly, Ruth, I agree with you, we have to show our work a little more. We can't just say, I feel like this is the right thing to do, because feels too squishy. But I think if we're able to say, here's why I think we need to consider these 3 aspects in making the decision, and here's my assessment of that, then it's tying the facts to the business reality, but making it a more multidimensional decision.
I'm the one in our group who always says, I don't want to deal with your emotions. Give me the facts. Thank you, Anne.
Truthfully, I'm there too. I'm actually at the point. So, okay, what's holding you from making this decision? I have to do that I have all men around me, so I have to do that too. I said, we can't make these decisions on emotion. Let's make these for the good of everybody. I'm the same as you, Carol. I have to go there because otherwise they want to be subjective rather than objective. So it's amazing.
I think as the country moves more to diversifying our workforces, that we're going to see a lot of different approaches to things. And what I see is as the younger people come into the business at higher and higher levels, they don't have some of these foregone conclusions that some of us older people have. Of course, I'm probably the oldest one in the room here, but.
No, for some of you who weren't on earlier, there's a great write-up for Seek celebrating their 50 years in business. And Carol's quoted as saying that when she turns 90, she'll start working an 8-hour day. So we got a long ways to go, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Susie, are you back? Are you done with lunch? Can you?
I am back. Thank you.
So, your team of 150, what would you say that the challenges and what you've learned?
Well, to speak on what everyone else has said, I agree. And I agree that, and especially what women, I feel like what has shown with us is that ability to pivot, the ability to make those changes. And it's kind of a joke, we're so sick of pivoting, but that's really what has been successful. And Mary Claire, you have been at the chamber, over and over and over again. And I noticed a lot about a lot of my team, a lot of my coworkers, just in their problem-solving skills. When we did have to change, when it was shut down 2 of the locations and pivot to 1 just to carry out only, and to see the team members rise and see who really possess the skills to pivot and to remain successful. And there were some surprises, I think, with that, and that you continue to bring with you. We had to be safe, and we made the decision to stay open. And a lot of those practices, I think, are just incredibly common now with the guidelines that we got from the state of Wisconsin. So we've learned a lot. In fact, I said to my boss the other day, we were discussing something that could potentially happen. And I said, if 1 year ago right now, someone would have told you what we were going to survive, what would you have done? And he said, oh, probably cried and just crawled into a hole and never come out. And I said, but we didn't. And, I like to think that we're thriving too. So it's been a year, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyone else? Angel, you're deemed essential this whole time. Angel and your team, you've been open.
I agree with what Susie and the others are saying. A lot of people stepped up that you didn't know that were going to step up. You followed their ideas or their thoughts on what should happen, and it all came together. There was a couple months there where we had to lay everybody off. There's only 2 of us working, shorten our hours, and it did get scary, but at the end, they all came back together. We kept our entire staff, and I really think because of it, we're stronger now.
Yeah, we are too.
I think everybody will be.
So what would you, kind of going off of Brian's question too, so what advice would you give to other women, no matter what, as leaders, as team members and so forth, as we work our way through 21? So I'm going to start with the panelists and then circle back to everyone. So Anne, what advice would you give to other women as we charge forward in 21?
I think we have to really continue to support each other and be open to asking for that. So, if you're a small business and you need customers to support you in your downtime, I think don't be afraid to say that. Like, we want to be here for you in the future. So get gift certificates, shop with me online. I think the more you can tell people what you need to continue to thrive, and don't, I encourage each other. Like, don't assume everybody's okay. Ask how they're doing. And I can't tell you how many times this last year I just needed to lay down on the floor and cry, and just somebody asking, like, are you okay? Even if it was just a 5-minute thing, the fact that somebody asked if I was okay, even when I was faking that I was okay. So I think we all need to support each other and our employees way more than we think they need it. So that would be my big ask for everyone.
Great, thank you, Anne. Ruthie?
First of all, be curious. Be willing to ask questions of anybody, because like Sarah said, Marie said, and Anne, you all walked in. Be willing to get help for one thing, but be curious. When somebody says something, don't just drop it there. Walk into a conversation. Be willing to walk into the conversation to find out something more, because there's always something more there. And don't lead with fear. Have courage, because that courage really opens up a whole lot of stuff. It does. With courage, if you lead with fear, you're going to shut down.
Yep.
When you walk into it with courage, you're going to find out a whole new world's out there.
Very good point. Thank you. Sarah?
Well, Scott and Brian, I'm so glad you're here. I miss seeing you guys at Rotary, so it's so fun to see both of you. So 30 years ago, I gave birth to our first son, and I want you to know I was convinced I was going to have a little feminist, and she was going to be marching with me. And lo and behold, I'm the mother of 4 sons. And I realized that our divine leader had a different plan for me. And it was a plan to make sure that I was raising, some days I did better than other days, men that were thoughtful and sensitive, and that when they saw a woman or a person of color not being treated the same way, that they would have the courage to address it. And so this is totally unrelated to the question, but Brian and Sean, I am so glad you're here. I mean, we need you to help us. And so I am really grateful for that. And my sons have heard that speech way too many times, but I really hope that in the time when they see something that needs to be corrected, that they'll use their voice. And it's a reminder for me to use my voice when I see somebody who's not being treated justly, to use my voice. But I want to say, my dad often shares a thing about a choir. When you are holding a long note, it's impossible to hold it that whole time, right? We just don't have the depth to do that. So it's that importance to remember that at times it's okay to step back and pause and catch your breath and turn it over to your colleagues, your choir people next to you, to continue on with that, carrying the tune. And so I think that's one of my big takeaways, and to press pause when you need it and know that others will carry it. So thank you.
Good point. Marie?
Mine is pretty short. I think it changed how I think and how we think in the business, and listen, have empathy, and work together as a team. And that's, I think, works best in my business, and take care of the customer, and just listen. I always say, listen to your people. They have great ideas and they're with you all the way. They've been this far and they will go through because they want all of us to survive in this business.
That is true.
Thanks.
Heather from a nonprofit, or Michelle from the finance side, anything you'd like to add in about advice for young women, or kind of what you're doing that you're moving forward, Michelle, in 20 that you learned in 20 to 21?
Well, I think that we got a lot of confidence. We know that when something comes towards us, that we can prosper. In our business, we've done everything like you guys, done more Zoom, really created work environments both at home and with in office with different safety mechanisms. And I think of all the stuff that we've accomplished this year, and I just feel so proud of each one of us. And when I look at my daughters that are have gone through this. Both of them started at new college adventures, one in undergrad and one in doctorate programs during this time. And to see everybody pivot and be able to prosper during this time, I'm extremely proud. And I think that we should all give ourselves a pat on the back.
Very good. Thank you. Heather, anything to add to that from the nonprofit side? Thank you, Michelle.
I don't think it's necessarily from the nonprofit side, just in general. Brian, I so appreciated your question about the impact of COVID on women. I think we've all seen that data, and just how in general that COVID has just exacerbated what was already a growing economic divide in our country. And I think as community and business leaders, we need to be really tuned into that. I think putting on my kind of employer and boss hat, I think one of the good things to come out of COVID that I think will help everyone, but will especially help women because of their caregiver responsibilities, is I've been pushed to be open to not needing my team to be here, right? I mean, I'm just old school enough to want them to physically be here. And yet I've seen how for my team, being able to be flexible with hours, work from home, sometimes for hourly employees to be working at 9 and 10 o'clock at night because that's what worked for them. I think down the road, if we don't assume that we're leaving that behind when we can be back in person, but that we think about how we can incorporate what we've learned and how we've adapted into how we do business and how we manage people moving forward, I think it's going to be better for everyone. And especially, I think for our female employees or for our single dad employees for that matter. I mean, just it's going to be better for everyone. So I appreciate that question, Brian. And I think maybe like many of you, I'm just really conscious of while COVID has been emotionally hard for our family, it has not been financially hard for our family. And I think in the Valley, there are a lot of us who COVID has been hard, but not in the way that it's been hard for people who have been economically devastated. And so to not assume that once we're able to go outside and have drinks at Pier 500, that everything's good again, but to be really paying attention to what's going to be a much longer recovery for some of our employees and other families here in the Valley that have really, really struggled to just stay afloat during COVID. So yeah. That's my 2 cents, Mary Claire.
Great. Thank you, Heather. Katie, anything to add?
I'll mute myself here. This has been an interesting year for our family as well. 3 little kids, which has been interesting, and a husband that flies for Delta, who has actually stepped up. I mean, being home now, he's kind of the stay-at-home dad. It's allowed me to be in the office every day. I have not worked from home once during this pandemic, which has been, I've been very thankful to be able to do that. But like I said, I've got a husband that has pretty much been grounded and now back to working, which is good. But what I liked from this presentation is I kind of heard like 2 common themes. And one was listening to others, because I think that's been one of the main takeaways from 2020 is how can we be creative, but using those around us that we don't always ask for their input. I think it was Larry King who always said, if you ask a question, don't always be thinking of your follow-up question because you're not then listening to what they're actually saying. So I think that's been one thing that I've tried to do more this year is listen to others. And then the other common theme has been ask for help. A lot of people think it's a sign of weakness, but it's not. And so I think especially, I mean, men and women have a hard time asking for help. And I think we need to think outside of what are men's roles and women's roles when we're asking for help. I mean, you always think of, okay, laundry. Well, that's a female, that's what we're supposed to do as women. Well, men can do it too, or fixing a pipe, which sometimes you have to do as a woman. So I think it's just, we're kind of changing how we view life. And I think 2020 gave all of us a lot more time home with family. I don't know what the divorce rate was in 2020, but I know being home and learning to live with a husband again when you're used to him traveling has been an interesting kind of wake-up call, but it's been great to learn about that other person. So it's been an interesting year, but I think, looking back, we learned so much from this year that is going to improve our lives. So
I think you're right. You summarized that very well, Katie. Diana, are you still on the call?
Yeah, sorry. I'm multitasking.
I know, but
because we're women, we can multitask.
I know, but
joking.
No, I know, but just your perspective in terms of starting a business and also running a current business.
It's kind of hard. I started, I used to work for the state of Minnesota and worked for a lady for a few years, and then started a business with two other great ladies 28 years ago, doing homes for people with disabilities. And it's just kind of hard because I've never really seen myself as I am woman, hear me roar. I see everybody as a person, especially people with disabilities. I've learned to see not the challenges or the deficits I have, but what's my attributions? What can I do? How can I be myself? And I've been blessed 28 great years of providing services for people in residential settings. And majority of our individuals working here are women. I mean, we're caregivers, and everything everybody says is kind of what we've put into place since day one, listening to people, getting feedback. We grew from 3 employees to 160 employees. And one of the things, we got, like I said, is you listen to everybody, you set up the management team. You always realize, you may be smart, you may know all the answers, but someone may else not know it. And I always say, if someone can come up with something, I'd rather they become part of it, because if everybody's just waiting for you to tell them what to do, you become a micromanager and you don't grow people, especially in business. I always say a company can be its own little island, or we can get every subsidiary there, being part of that island. You know what I'm saying? So no, during this COVID, I never look at a conflict or an issue as, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's just I look at problems as an opportunity to solve them. Working in the field, I deal with regulations, investigators. I just got a call from the Secret Service agent last week. That was pretty cool. Yes, because that was kind of fun. Instead of going, oh my God, they want to talk to me. And it was nothing major, don't worry. But I'm going, cool. I've never had this, I've gotten a call from the governor's office and things, with this type of business. You see it all. And never do I freak out. I just look at, okay, how do we solve this? And having a bunch of good people around you is the most important thing in business, and having good people, and how you get good people is that you develop and lead them. And I think most good managers realize that. I say every day I come to work, it's like being a director for a play. How do I put the things in motion that we all become a successful team? So, but doing the restaurant, I didn't look at it as, oh my God, I'm buying a restaurant, it's COVID, blah, 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 blah. I just looked at, okay, here's an opportunity for me to do something I really wanted to do. And also a great opportunity to find new people that can be part of my team at the restaurant. And I got great people.
Yep.
And COVID, and you're saying, shut up, Diana. Yeah. We're done. But I'm just saying is, I know we're here for women and that's part of it, but I just wish we could all look at saying, I'm a person. Doesn't matter if I'm a woman, if I'm a man, whatever I am, purple, green, blue, yellow, whatever, we're all somebody. you know, and maybe that's just because I've worked with people with a lot of disabilities and never saw them with that disability. I saw the person who was inside them, and what do I do to achieve the best for them? Plus, you know what I'm saying. So I'm glad that we do have Women's International, and someday maybe we don't have to have it because we'll all be on the same plane and everybody sees each other as someone that we all see as equal, and that we feel comfortable that we are, because why doubt ourselves? You know, that'd be my message to any woman. Don't see yourself as a woman, see yourself as a person, and what can you add in people's life? And now I am done, Mary Claire. Okay.
All right, Diana, I didn't say anything.
I know, I can read your mind. I'm psychic. So
okay. Thank you.
Anyways,
yes. I just want to invite Ann or Ruthie or Sarah or Marie if you have any closing comments or thoughts for today.
I guess I'll say really quick, we've got, I think collectively still a tough year ahead, right? There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. We're not just going to come out of this nothing but net. There's going to be steps forward with vaccines, steps backs with infection, step forwards with protocols. And I think we're going to have a really important year. And I think if we focus on what we're getting out of this year and not what we're losing out of this year, it's going to allow us to really springboard into 2020 that much more. But remain flexible, adaptable, take care of each other and your families and everyone around you. And we'll have a fabulous 2022 and we'll get there together.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate that. Very good words. Ruthie?
Well spoken, yes.
Just remember that awareness brings choice. So that's one of the biggest things, is you always have choice. And so challenge is opportunity.
All right, very good. Thank you. Marie?
Well, I'm ready to take the challenge for 2021. And like Ann says, there is still going to be some bumps in the road. And we will survive those, and just hope to come out of this alive and well and safe in our business.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you, Mary Claire and the Chamber, for putting this on today and for giving us a chance to get together and reflect and commiserate and find hope together. So I'm super appreciative of that. And I'm just happy that you guys are all in our community and know that we have a lot of resources to pull on. And let me tell you, Mary Claire has done a fantastic job keeping, and her crew, keeping informed on government things, new mandates, whatever the case might be. Mm-hmm. So she has been a major champion.
Absolutely.
For business and for our community. So thank you. And I'm glad you guys are all my neighbors.
Thank you, Sarah. And just a note, if you need any PPE, we do have hand sanitizer at a special price, and Clorox wipes too. So we're willing to peddle those down the streets.
Mary Claire, I could have a sale on sanitizer too, because I ordered so much from Ecolab. It's everywhere in every closet in the restaurant. I'm like, am I going to ever use this? Probably not, but.
Oh, so you don't need any from us? Okay. Well,
no, I'm good right now. Thanks.
If others need hand sanitizer or wipes, please let me know. So please join me in thanking our phenomenal panelists for today.
Thank you.
Always a great discussion. And this is our second annual International Women's Day, and I appreciate all of you participating, and thank you to our speakers. We want to thank our sponsor today, Carol and her team. Again, congratulations on 50 years. We are thrilled that you were a part of our panel for the first time. We invite you and your team to join us back next year. And I just have to say, on behalf of the Chamber, it is clearly a team effort. We are small, but we are mighty with Maddie, April, and myself. So thank you all for your help and support that you have given us. We greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. Check out the newsletter. We have a lot of committee opportunities, different ways for you to be involved in the Chamber. But thank you for attending as well, for your support and involvement in the Hudson Chamber, and we'll see you soon.